Let me just open by saying first, I'm just, excited to have this opportunity. When I was first asked if I'd be willing to serve on the committee, again, I was honored, humbled, all those things. Didn't expect it. Knew that they were making recommendations from each one of the FBS conferences. Were making recommendations to the management committee, which the management committee is made up of the 10 commissioners of the FBS. So those are the people who whittled the list down to 13, and that's also the group that then asked me to serve as the first chair. So that's a little bit of the process. Certainly, it's, as I said yesterday in the press conference, I think it's an exciting time for college football and college football fans. From my take on it, this is the best solution for being able to incorporate the bowl games, because I have always been a proponent of the bowl games. I think that's a great piece of our history and tradition that I'm glad we've been able to find a way to keep that involvement of bowl games, but yet give us a truer national championship by having 4 teams seeded and compete in semifinals and then the national championship game. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to talk about Razorback athletics as well. So I'll take any of your questions at this time.
What are some of the concerns you had as this was being thought about or discussed with regard to the impact of your job here at Arkansas, and how did you alleviate those concerns?
Okay, I think in terms of the time commitment, yeah. Certainly when I was approached, that was the first question. First question was, will my serving on the committee have any negative impact on the University of Arkansas when we play our way into that position? And the answer to that was no, that I would be recused from those discussions. But for example, if it took 10 votes to, move on to the next round or be in the top 4, Arkansas would only need 9. I'd be recused. So there is no negative impact on Arkansas. So that was important to me. And then secondly, it's a time commitment, and we tried to get an idea of what that time commitment would be. And then really, that was a personal decision, one that I shared at the press conference. Is really first place I went to was my own wife, because I knew that I'm going to commit the time to the Razorback athletics. That's my #1 goal, so I'm not going to change that. It may cut into it some, but I have a very strong staff, and they'll be able to pick up anything that I may have to step away from. So I have no concerns there, but it's really personal time. That's where the impact's going to be, is in personal time with my wife and my daughter. So, as I said yesterday, my wife was enthusiastically in support of it, so it kind of gave me the clear way to go. And, I am excited about it. College football has been a part of my life, from Division III, where, I paid to play college football. So it's been a very important part of my life. I started out trying to coach, then go into administration, but I've always been around football. And so have the opportunity to truly give back to something that's been so important to me and has given me so much. So I really do consider it an honor, and I'm excited to do it.
How long did the process last? Like, when did you first get notification this might happen? And
I got asked sometime in June or July, I'm sorry, I don't remember specific times, whether I'd be willing to serve. And I, gave a preliminary, yes, I would. I want to know more if I got down closer to being selected. So, and then sometime in July, I was called by the commissioner of the SEC and said that I had been a unanimous selection of the management committee to serve if I was willing to serve. That's when I inquired more about the time commitment and those kind of things, and then I agreed to serve on the committee. And then it wasn't till the last week and a half or 2 weeks they came back and approached me. Bill Hancock called me about serving as the chair. So the chairmanship has really been a more recent thing just the last couple of weeks.
What's the length of the term?
Its terms are unclear at this point. Generally, there'll be 3-year terms, but as we begin, we'll have to stagger those appointments because we wouldn't want everybody rolling off after 3 years. So some people may only serve a year, some may serve 4, but we're going to work that out as a committee. That's part of the work that the committee will do when we first get together. So, and it's unclear also at this point. I've agreed to chair for the first year. It's unclear whether they would want me to continue, or whether that is not an option. It's unclear whether that could, how that's going to play out. And again, the committee will work on that and then make a recommendation to the management committee for ultimate approval.
What additional responsibilities will you have as the chair?
Well, it really, in the first year, it's going to be quite a bit because we've got to put together the procedures and the protocols within the committee. Certainly, we'll have a lot of things from the men's basketball committee to draw from, but I'll have to lead that with the committee and make those determinations as we go on. We're going to meet for the first time next month to begin to plot that process. But really, I'll be working more directly, more closely with Bill Hancock, the executive director, and his staff to develop the agenda and then make sure we stay on course through that agenda. And then I'll be the spokesperson for the committee as we address things through the next football season.
Are they based in Arlington? I mean, is that where you guys will all convene, or?
Yes, the college football playoff offices are in that Arlington area near Dallas, and so that's where the majority of the meetings will take place. It's centrally located for those who come from the west and the east, and so I think that's why they decided on locating the office. The office just opened last August, as I understand.
With all the passion surrounding college football, this is a very pressure-packed job. How do you and the rest of the committee feel about being in control of something so many people care about?
Well, first of all, the job, certainly I work in every day is a pressure-packed job, so I think that, I'm kind of used to that pressure. And then you look at those other members of the committee, we've got a 3-star general, we got a former Secretary of State. They've made decisions in high pressure-packed situations. So, I don't think, when you go into this, that ultimately there's going to be a group of fans that are unhappy. It's going to come with the territory. But I do think overall college football fans are going to be more satisfied with the outcome determining the national championship on the field. Certainly teams 5, 6, 7, or 8 may feel they're deserving of number 4. And you know what? That's going to happen. It's happened in any situation. We see it in the men's basketball tournament. Teams 69, 70, 72, whatever, felt they should be in that 68. So, that's going to happen. This system doesn't change that. There's going to be a group of fans that aren't happy with the ultimate decision. But again, it's a collective decision of 13 people with high intelligence and high integrity to do what they feel is in the best interest of college football as they rate these teams.
With such a high profile job now, it's easy to speculate about your career path. How committed are you to Arkansas? If someone calls, will you listen?
I love the University of Arkansas. University of Arkansas is really one of the reasons why I'm selected to serve on this committee. If I hadn't been at an institution like this, I wouldn't have been asked to do that. So, Arkansas is a great place, it's a great program. I am privileged and honored to lead it. And again, I owe a lot to the University of Arkansas in putting me in position to accept this. And I hope that our fans take great pride in, not with me being the selected to do this, but the athletic director at the University of Arkansas being selected to chair this committee. I think it's a huge honor for our program, our university, and I hope people among our state take pride in it. I hope they do. And this is a state that is very prideful in that respect, so I'm sure they are.
Will you listen if somebody contacts you about it?
I'm not interested in listening to anybody about anything. This is my job, and this is the job that I'm excited to lead, and the program excited to lead. And looking about what we've done over the last 5 years, I'm very proud of that and looking forward to continue it. We have a lot of work going on. We've got a lot of initiatives in the fire. We've got a baseball track facility to finish. We've got a basketball practice facility to build, and we've got a student athlete academic center to build as well. So those are all things where my priorities are focused, and helping each one of our teams be successful and the student athletes in those teams be successful.
If you were in the process like you were, say, 12 months ago of hiring a football coach, would that have been bad timing for something like this, and the timing's a lot better for
Oh, yeah, I guess looking back on it, and yeah, sure, it would have been difficult to accept this position if you were in the middle of a coaching search, or even when you were helping a new coach transition in, because that transition is a lengthy process. It doesn't happen as soon as they show up on campus. So, yeah, I think I would have had to pause and look at it differently, but again, the circumstances are different today, and I'm very comfortable leading the committee at this point in time.
As far as the time commitment, what have you mapped out in your head as far as paying attention to other games, research, meeting with committee members? What kind of
Yeah, be honest, not very far into that. We know a couple things that we're going to, committee members will be assigned conferences to keep track of, something other than the one they're associated with. For me, I wouldn't be looking at the SEC, I'll be looking at one of the other conferences. So preliminarily, again, we'll be looking at that data, whittling down the number of teams that we're even going to consider for our pools. And then the other important thing to think of too is I think technology makes this, doable. I won't have to watch a 3.5-hour game. I can watch a game minus all the commercials and minus all the timeouts and all the time in between plays. I'll be able to click through a game pretty quickly. And then keep in mind too, chances are you won't probably have to see every minute of every game you're evaluating because you're going to have games throughout the season review, and some are going to be more important than others. So, you know what, when you start to boil it down, it's not as, a huge a task to accomplish. But there will also, in addition to watching games, there'll be a huge amount of data to consider. And again, that's the interesting thing about what our committee will do, is we will make some decisions of maybe prioritize data that we're going to look at. Obviously, there's going to be more data than we could possibly consume in any time period, to be quite honest. So we'll need to weigh that. And then also, each committee member will look at data and metrics differently. So, and that's part of putting the human element into this committee.
I think I heard earlier yesterday in the application of all the ways that you can get into to the playoff, Bill Hancock say whether you're a conference champion or not. And I wonder how you feel personally about teams that aren't conference champions.
I think that's conference champions is a factor for us to consider. That comes down from the management committee, all along with win-loss record, strength of schedule, head-to-head competition, and competition against like opponents. So that's just one of the principles that have been handed down by the management committee. The committee itself, selection committee, will also draft up other things principles that we believe are important. So that's going to be one factor, and certainly if a team is a conference champion, that means something. That's part of their body of work. So I don't overly react to that conference champion. I think it is a significant accomplishment depending on what conference it is.
Well, I mean, if you're not a conference champion, I mean, Alabama won a national championship
Absolutely.
when they weren't. So,
Well, specifically that this playoff was not set up for only conference champions. That was one of the iterations that the commissioners considered, but we ultimately did not end up with that. So a conference champion is just another one of those factors that will be considered.
Do you foresee the playoffs staying at 4?
First of all, yes, the contract's for 12 years. And then second of all, that's not even in the purview of the committee I serve upon. The committee I serve upon is selecting the teams for the 4-team playoff. So, really that's going to be a question and decision that lies with the management committee and then the president's board of directors that's even above the management committee.
what's the first meeting? What's the first thing on your agenda?
I don't have it set yet. No. This has been it's been a whirlwind, and certainly Bill Hancock and I will get together soon once all this fervor settles down in the next week or two, and then we'll start visiting and putting together the meeting agenda for the first series of meetings.
How
Have all
fluid is going to be the evaluation of strength of schedule? Like a Southern Miss a couple of years ago looked like a pretty strong team for Arkansas to schedule, and they go 0-11.
Yeah, and again, that's another thing that has to be considered. Obviously, when we scheduled a team, they look really good when we schedule them, and then they weren't. So that'll be taken into consideration. But again, I think there will be an overall strength of schedule, and then, I think you will be adversely affected if you catch a team that has historically been strong, and you catch them in a year when they're not strong. That will obviously impact your strength of schedule.
Have all 13 of you been in a room together yet?
We have not. We've not had our first meeting.
Is a lot of this about creating the opportunity maybe for an upset and for a team that you know, give them the opportunity to not just let some team roll in, but give other teams that have a shot at it the chance for an upset and to win a title?
I'm not, maybe I'll answer that this way. I think the unique thing about this playoff is no matter what conference you're from, you're treated equally. And that is, if you're one of those top 4 teams, you will get in, whether you're from the Mountain West or any one of the other FBS conferences. If you make it into that top 4, you're in. There's no questions. So I think that does give everybody certainly more of a chance than they had in the BCS system.
Talk to, say, someone that served on the basketball selection committee to kind of, like, what's this really about and how is it going to work? And can you keep your sanity through the process?
Are you asking me, have I spoken? Certainly, you know, Bill Hancock and Tom Jernstad, you know, they put together the NCAA basketball tournament over the 30-year period or whatever. So they have great insight to that. And then, yeah, I've had colleagues that served on the committee, and I've talked about it past. Not directly now. I haven't called someone up and said, how's that been? I will, but I also have information. I've gone through some of those media trainings that they've done at different times in NCAA to know how that basketball committee worked. But like I said, we'll use certainly some of their principles and guidelines and procedures, but it's football, and it's different, and it's going to be 4 teams as opposed to 25 teams we're ranking. So again, I think it'll be very helpful. I think it'll help us through the process, but it won't be exactly like we do with men's basketball.
Will the bracket be set up just one plays 4, 2 versus 3 from your seat? Like if 1 and 4 are in the same conference, will you maybe rearrange the matchups so that they don't play
No,
each other?
it'll be 1 through 4, and then 1 plays 4, 2 versus 3.
Something earlier about the number of ballots, like if Arkansas would only have to be on 9 ballots out of 10. So is there any mechanical, you know, ideas put forth as to how
Not yet.
teams are going to be?
Yeah, not yet. That's going to be obviously early on in our agenda and our process of the committee, how we're going to do that. How is it going to be different than they do it in men's basketball? And I think it will be somewhat different. But I don't know the answer to that question, but it's certainly one that we will get answered early in the process.